Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're looking at the differences between writing internal and external documentation.
Yeah, that's a good one. A lot of folks get tripped up by this, especially, technical writers, documentation specialists, IT professionals.
Right. So this deep dive was actually suggested by senior technical writer Curt Robbins.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we'll be looking at a blog post from the Feathers blog. It's by Sarah Maddox, Writing Internal versus External Docs. What's the difference? So why is this so important? Well, if you're crafting anything from internal design docs to user-facing manuals, understanding these distinctions can really help you tailor your writing to best suit your audience and purpose.
For sure.
So Maddox, she has experience with both types of documentation. And one thing that really struck me is that she noticed some surprising similarities between writing for internal audiences and open source documentation.
Yeah, that is interesting. And, when you think about it, it makes sense. Both internal and open source audiences often have direct access to the code and the developers, right?
Right.
So it creates this much more collaborative documentation environment.
Huh.
Maddox even mentions how internal technical writers might be directly contacted by engineers while they're using the documentation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like having your users breathing down your neck, but in a good way, hopefully.
Well, I mean, that direct feedback could be invaluable.
Exactly. It's like instant user testing.
Yeah. So it could be intimidating, but also incredibly helpful.
Absolutely. And you know what? This direct engagement seems to make engineers really value internal documentation
Oh,
more.
that's good.
Yeah. They're more likely to contribute to it because they see its direct impact. Maddox even suggests harnessing this collaborative spirit through stuff like doc sprints and doc fixits.
Doc sprints, doc fixits. Okay, I like the sound of this. Tell me more.
Well, a doc sprint is basically like a focused burst of documentation work. You get all the engineers and writers together, and they create documentation for a specific feature or product within a set time frame.
Like a documentation hackathon?
Exactly. And then doc fixits are similar, but they're more about resolving existing documentation issues.
Also targeted improvements. I like it.
Yeah. It's much more efficient than just hoping that engineers will contribute on their own time. And, to make it even easier for engineers to contribute, Maddox advocates for a docs as code approach.
Docs as code. Okay, I've heard this term, but could you break that down for me?
Yeah, basically it means using the same tools and workflows for documentation that engineers already use for their code.
So, like, they can contribute to documentation using the same version control system and code editor that they use for their regular work.
Exactly. Think Sphinx or MKDocs,
Mm-hmm.
They can write in plain text formats like Markdown. That way it integrates seamlessly with their existing workflows.
Makes sense. It removes that hurdle of learning a whole new system.
Exactly. But even with familiar tools, there's still a learning curve when it comes to effective technical writing.
Right, of course.
So Maddox, she really emphasizes the importance of providing technical writing training for engineers.
So even if they're using familiar tools, they still need training on how to actually write effectively.
Absolutely. Technical writing is a specific skill set. Clear, concise communication, structuring information logically, tailoring your language to your audience.
For sure.
And you'd be surprised how much demand there is for this kind of training. Maddox mentioned that these courses are often, oversubscribed.
Wow. So even beyond traditional documentation roles, people are realizing that good technical writing is valuable.
Yeah. It's essential in all areas of engineering now. Design documents, internal reports, just good team communication. Those skills are in high demand.
Right. So even if you're not a technical writer, understanding those principles makes you a better engineer overall.
100%. And I think one of the most important things Maddox brings up is the need to really understand your audience, even when writing internal documentation.
Okay, but isn't it a bit of a trap to assume that engineers automatically understand each other's needs? I mean, they're all working on the same system, right?
Well, yeah, it can be. Internal systems, they can get so complex. Layers upon layers of functionality.
Right.
Just because someone works on the system doesn't mean they understand every component, or the needs of other teams working on different parts of it. It's like assuming that if you know how to drive a car, you automatically know how to rebuild the engine.
Okay, yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So as a technical writer, how do you avoid that trap of assuming everyone's on the same page just because they work for the same company?
You got to do some detective work. Talk to the engineers, see how they work, figure out what specific information they need. You can even look at existing documentation, see where the gaps are, where things could be clearer.
Right. So it's about understanding the context, right? Not just explaining what the code do, yes, but how it fits into the bigger picture, how different teams interact with it.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference, especially for someone new coming onto the team, you know? Good documentation can really shorten that learning curve.
Yeah, like instead of being thrown in the deep end, they have a roadmap.
Right. And on the flip side, if the documentation is too generic or assumes too much knowledge, it leads to frustration, wasted time, maybe even errors. You got to be careful. Don't want to overload with jargon or assume everyone's on the exact same page.
Yeah.
Remember, even within a company, there are different levels of
Oh,
expertise.
for sure. Like different dialects of the same language almost.
Yeah.
You can generally understand each other, but there can be these little nuances that trip you up.
That's a good way to put it. And I think at the end of the day, whether you're writing for internal or external audiences, the goal is the same. You want to create documentation that's clear, concise, and actually helps people understand and use the product, you know?
So it's not really about internal versus external. It's about knowing your audience and giving them what they need.
Exactly. And recognizing that both types of documentation are important. Internal docs help teams work better. External docs help users get the most out of the product.
Which brings us back to Maddox's point about technical writers being the bridge between those two worlds.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. They're not just writing manuals, they're creating this shared understanding that benefits everyone. We often see documentation as this like separate task, something you do after the, quote, real work, you know? But what if it was part of the process from the very beginning?
Right. Like integrated into the development itself.
Exactly. Instead of an afterthought, it becomes a tool for collaboration, for communication, you know, for sharing knowledge.
So bringing it back to Maddox's article, it seems like her point is that good documentation, whether it's internal or external, is about more than just clear writing. It's about understanding your audience, working together, and seeing documentation as this valuable tool for communication and knowledge sharing.
Yeah, totally. And it's about recognizing the unique challenges and opportunities that come with each type of documentation. Internal docs let you use that shared context, build a deeper understanding within your team. External docs, you got to step outside that bubble, make complex stuff understandable for everyone.
It's a balance, for sure, but it's so important for any organization that wants to build products that people actually enjoy using.
As you go out there and do your technical writing, remember, you're not just explaining how things work. You're building bridges. You're translating knowledge. You're fighting for clarity. If you embrace that, I think you'll find that documentation can be really rewarding, really impactful.
Well said. And for everyone who wants to explore these ideas further, you can find a link to Sarah Maddox's blog post in the show notes. Until next time, happy writing.